How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of Pokemon rumors, news, and even some leaks and stuff like that. So, sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get started. First things first is going to be this post right here on 4chan, and my head looks like a bit messy. Got a massive zit, but either way, so, what are we talking about? Well, basically, we've got ourselves a new rumor on 4chan. I don't really know how real this one is, but hey, that's why we're here, right? Let's just to take a look at it, to see what it has to say, if it looks legitimate or not. So let's get right into it off the bat. So the first thing this person posted here on 4chan, and keep in mind, everything that's posted on 4chan is a little bit iffy. Don't take it like as actually, you know, guaranteed real, okay? Just keep that in mind, right? So what it says here is Pokemon Present Anonymous posted on the 29th here saying Miraidon will be available for Pokemon Unite after the Presents. So there has been talks about Miraidon being added to Pokemon Unite. I've actually heard about that from other people, so that seems to be in line with that. Then continues and says Pokemon Masters EX new sync pairs, and these are interesting because these, I don't know when this was, if this was posted right before, because there is actually an update on Pokemon Masters EX with new characters. But he says it's Arezu with Hisu and Lilligant, Leon and Cleavor, and Volo and Giratina. So that's all Legends Arceus stuff. And then Legends Arceus actually just celebrated its 2-year anniversary, by the way, which is pretty crazy to think that that game's already been out for so long. It's pretty nuts, okay? It's pretty nuts. But nonetheless, though, moving on down the rest of the list, it says there's going to be a Lugia event coming to Cafe Remix. Sounds about right. Doesn't seem that crazy. Pokemon Go, Koraidon, and Miraidon raid event in the spring. Ooh. Yo, actually, listen, I've been playing a lot of Go lately, and I'm gonna be real. I would love a Koraidon Miraidon raid, especially in spring, because I swear to God, it's too cold right now outside. It's not worth it to do it anytime, you know, now. It's better to wait until it gets warmer outside. But seriously, though, Koraidon Miraidon being added in would be sick. I actually looked today at a list by I'm not sure who posted it, but I was looking at a massive list of all the Pokemon Go Pokemon that are missing, and there's so many that still are not in that game. So it's going to be cool to see at least those two added, if this is a real post, of course. Again, it is just a rumor, but I think it will be sick to have Miraidon Koraidon release in the spring. But next up, though, is a Shiny Eevee Tera Raid Battle event that will start on February 27th to March 5th, which sounds about right. Sounds like something they would be willing to do. Of course, the raid event, it would be in Scarlet and Violet since it's a Tera Raid Battle, but hey, I'm all on board for it. Next up, the new Pokemon movie that premieres a Ice Fire small moose-like Pokemon that blows snot bubbles out of its nose. So, okay, this matches up with this theory that we've been hearing about a potential, like, second mythical Pokemon, right, in Scarlet and Violet. We've been hearing about that for a while now. But the idea for that is a lot of people think it's going to be a giant gorilla Pokemon. So this one's saying it's going to be an Ice Fire small moose. Honestly, I think it would be sick to have, like, a proper moose Pokemon. I mean, I don't think we have a real, like, proper moose Pokemon based on a moose, as far as I'm aware. And since I've lived in Sweden my whole life, I'm used to them, so it would be sick to see one of them. But, again, it's so random, though, which then would make me feel like, oh, is Generation 10 going to be based on the Northern Europe, on the Scandinavian countries? Ooh, you know? I don't know, that's kind of the vibe I get. But, again, it's just what this person said, so I don't really know if we should take that as, like, actually meaning anything. Next up, though, Pokemon Remote is a new streaming service. So, okay, so this is going in line with the previous posts we've seen on this channel. If you haven't seen that, feel free to go back and watch some of the older videos. But there was a post about, like, something new replacing Pokemon TV. And then they call it Pokemon, I don't remember, like, Pokemon Live? Pokemon something? I don't know, something like that. But this one says Pokemon Remote is a new streaming service that allows you to watch all the Pokemon anime series and movies throughout the years with monthly and yearly subscription fees. Ah, I see. So, see, that would actually make sense. That would make sense. They removed Pokemon TV, which wasn't the best service, let's be honest. It wasn't the best. It really missed a lot of episodes. But funny that they would remove the free one and they would replace it with money. Pay us. Hey, you want to watch this shit? Pay us. That's the vibe I get from this. But yeah, apparently able to download episodes and movies for offline viewing. I mean, then again, you can also just use the internet and you'll find your episodes. But it was just nice Pokemon TV existed, because as a kid, I would kind of use it. Like, when I, not kid, but when I was younger, you know, when I wasn't that, like, you know, internet savvy, I did use that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, it's a bit odd. But nonetheless, wouldn't be too crazy if it actually is real. Moving on is Pokemon Pinball Scarlet and Violet. Oh boy. I don't know about the chances of there actually being a Pokemon Pinball, but That would be pretty wild if they did do a Pokemon pinball game. Then again, it is much less difficult to make, I would argue, so not impossible. Apparently, slow, normal, fast, and turbo ball speed, local and online multiplayer 1v1s, online leaderboards. I know one person who'd love pinball. My fiance, she actually loves pinball in real life, so maybe this would be a game for her. But yeah, so honestly, this doesn't sound too bad. Like the idea of like having local and online multiplayer 1v1s, online leaderboards, gives people a reason to keep playing. An April 11th release date. Honestly, I think this would be pretty sick. Just saying, I think this would be pretty cool. But the next one, though, is the more interesting post, which is Pokemon Legends Celebi, right? That's the next post right here. And that's one that I think is, it's a spicy, okay? Because here's the thing. I don't know what the next game that's going to be this year, if it's, like, I expect something Johto related. I just don't know if that Johto thing is going to be Celebi, or if it's going to be something else, right? I don't know what it's meant to be or which one it's supposed to be. Is it Celebi? Is it a Let's Go styled game? Is it a regular remake? Is it a Gold and Silver remake? Or is it a Crystal remake? Is it a remake of Heart Gold Soul Silver? Or is it just regular Gold and Silver? There's like so many questions that can be asked just in regards to this one thing. So in regards to that, here's what it says though. So the starter Pokemon are apparently going to be Charmander, Snivy, and Froakie. Okay. Charmander, Snivy, and Froakie. So I'm trying to think, in what relation do those three Pokemon have to each other? I mean, I know that Charmander is the most popular one from Gen 1, and Froakie is the most popular one from Gen 6. Snivy, is Snivy the most popular Pokemon from Gen 5? I wonder. Plus, like, the distance between these Pokemon is a bit different, because if we think back to, like, let's think about Hisui, right? So you had a Pokemon from Gen 2, a Pokemon from Gen 5, and a Pokemon from Gen 7, right? So Cyndaquil, Oshawott, and Rowlet. So between those, there's a varying amount of generations, right? Like between Gen 2 and Gen 5, there's like 3 generations in between. I guess you got Gen 3 and Gen 4 in between. So there's 2 generations in between them. And then between Generation 5 and 7, there is 1 generation. So, and also those were also based, like if you look at what Typhlosion was based on and what like, Hisui and Decidueye, and all of them, what they were all based on, it was kind of like warriors from Japanese times. So I'm wondering, what could they do with Charmander, Snivy, and Froakie? Like, what could they actually do to make them different? Like, I'm really curious to know, what would they even be able to do with that? Again, if this is real, keep in mind, this is just a rumor, so don't take this as actually being real. This is just, again, what people are saying, and it could just be some random dude who made this somewhere in, I don't know, what's a random place? Tennessee. I don't know. Somebody in Tennessee just made this rumor. I don't know. My point just stands that, again, take it with a grain of salt. But it also says that apparently there'll be wild Pokemon stampedes. That sounds sick. That sounds like an actually cool thing. Just like a wave of Tauros just crushing you. Which sounds wrong now that I say it. But either way, Celebi has dialogue and seems to appear throughout the game. November 21st release date. Huh, interesting. Okay, so that would be fair enough. I mean, fair enough. Again, I don't see an issue with this. But again, this one doesn't go anything into Unova, which is interesting because I have been hearing this like... There's this weird discourse right now within Pokemon, which is like, is it going to be Johto or is it going to be Unova? More people think it's going to be Unova, and they think that because of all the massive, okay, just I really mean massive hints, okay? The massive amount of hints and stuff that have been pushed from the direction of Pokemon, right? Like with all the stuff in the... Blueberry Academy, right? It being quote-unquote in Unova, with all the stuff there related to Unova, all the, like, connections, all the character connections, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's been pushing people towards Unova. But there's also been a lot of stuff about Johto, and the Johto stuff has been more subtle, right? It's been there. It's been more like, if we think about all the references that have been made, there is most Unova, and then second is Johto in terms of references. Except the Unova ones are more in your face, whereas the Johto ones are a little bit more nuanced, if that makes any sense. They're not as in your face. I mean, they still are in your face if you can find them relatively easily, but... they're less so, right? They're less so in your face kind of, hey, this is what's going to be next. And keep in mind, Pokemon does love to leave hints in one game for what the next game is. Like, they do this all the time. Sometimes it could be like for the next generation, sometimes it could be for the next remake or whatever the next game is. But they love to leave little hints in there, which is pretty much where I'm going with this. I feel like it looks like, Johto does feel more likely to me just because of how more, subtle the hints are. And they're not as... what's the word I would use? They're not as, like, aggressive as the Unova ones are. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end that point. I don't really know what else I can really actually say about it, but that's pretty much where my where my point stands. And let's move on to what it says, I guess, in the next post that we're going to be taking a look at. But in terms of this one, where do I put this actual post? Do I think it's real? Do I think it's fake? I'm going to be real. I'm going to put this one as a, you know, I don't know, Chief. It's not a bad, you know, rumor. It's a decent rumor, but I don't know if I would take this one as being real. There's a lot of stuff in it that makes sense, but again, I don't know. The chances of Pokemon pinball game just seem so random. I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What would you rate this? I'd give this one a solid 6 out of 10 because it's not like too, you know, crazy. Like the stuff it says is not like insane to imagine. However, the stuff that gets me a little bit like, you know, to feel like this is maybe fake is potentially like the Pokemon Masters EX new sync pairs, because this does not maybe match up with some of the stuff that just got announced. So maybe let's jump over to some of that stuff, some official news. So starting things off with official news, we're going to go over to, of course, Cerebi's post right here. I'm going to go over to Twitter. The first thing we have here is Cerebi update. The next 7-star Tera raid battle event has been fully revealed and battle against the Ice-type Tera Empoleon. So yes, Empoleon is going to be getting a new Tera type. Yes, it's going to be, or not a new one, but there's going to be a Tera event for him, and it's going to be a 7-star raid. Yes, a 7-star one, which is interesting because most people would expect like it to be potentially like the last one, which is, you know, Tera star like 5-star, right? Which was for, oh geez, it was like for the two Iron Jugglies and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to be running from the February 2nd until the 4th. Again, a week later from February 9th through February 11th. So basically, we have the same situation as we had with, whatchamacallem, like the exact same event we had with Blaziken and stuff. So it's just another starter Pokemon that's being put out there, which is, hey, fair enough, cool enough, I don't mind. And I wonder maybe, because the two that have been shown has been Blaziken and Empoleon, I wonder if the next one is going to be potentially a grass type, right? Because could that potentially be like a hint towards the actual 3 Pokemon that will be starters for the next, like, you know, whatever you want to call it, for the next, like, Pokemon Legends game? I think it's just a cool thing to think about. It's not probably the case, but I just like to speculate, okay? I like to have fun with this kind of shit. But yeah, it would be cool if it was the case. Also, we are still waiting, by the way, from none else than Riddler Koo, because Koo has not been posting a lot lately. He's been relatively quiet, to say the least. The most recent thing he posted was this teeny tiny picture. So Riddler Koo, for those who do not know, is a legitimate leaker. He kind of leaked a bunch of stuff for us for the DLC, so a lot of our knowledge about the DLC prior to its release was from him. Of course, some things either we misinterpreted or the way he presented it to us was just not very clear, but he is a legitimate leaker, and he said he's going to be starting his like new leak sessions, right? And like new leaks will be coming out for him, but we haven't heard anything now since his last post about it, which his last post was on the 25th, so it hasn't been a ridiculous amount of time. It's only been like, what, 4 days basically? Yeah, it's basically like the 4th day since he tweeted that. And in that time, he only tweeted like 3 days ago. So it's not like it's been an insane amount of time. But we are now closing in. We're about to be in February, okay? It's the 29th of me recording this. So we're not far away now. But let's move on to the next thing. So again, 7-star Tera raid battle. Keep in mind, it's going to run 2 times, just like the Blaziken one did. So it's going to be again on the weekend, February the 2nd to the February the 4th. So if we just look up the dates for that, that's going to be again starting from a Friday until the Sunday, and same thing on the 9th there. It's going to be on a Friday until the... So it's basically two weekends in a row. You're going to have this raid battle to actually do. So definitely go in there, get your hands on it. I would probably recommend probably an Iron Hands, I would say. You need some electric in there, or electric fighting would probably be the best. But yeah, so you want to go in with probably an Iron Hands into this battle, because it's gonna be an interesting one. Again, Ice type, so we'll see how that turns out. Moving on though, we have some big things to talk about. And the first thing in regards to that is going to be this right here. So there's going to be a new update for Pokemon Masters EX. Now, some of you guys may don't care about Masters EX, but there's an interesting thing in Masters EX, which is this one right here. So Cerebi update. A new Pokemon Masters EX update has started to roll out, and new details on events for the next month, including the addition of Chase and Pikachu, and the new Battle Rally feature that has been announced. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is Chase. Now, if you guys do not know who this character is, that's fine. Maybe you didn't play Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but if you did play Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you will know who this character is. This is Chase. Now, Chase, for those of you who do not know, is basically the main character of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. If you play as the male character, there's also a female alternative. But basically, Chase as a character was kind of a new version of Trainer Red, right? He wasn't actually Red, he was a whole new character. But here's the thing. it's a weird timing to put him into these games, and also does add some weird lore implications and stuff where he fits into everything. But I guess this game is really a messy lore anyways. But what I want to say about this one is so odd to me that they're releasing this now, because there is a whole post here about all the things that are coming out. So this one's going to be releasing on the 30th of January. It's going to be Chase and Pikachu plus the Rally battle feature. Win battles using a shop, which is bizarre, okay? And then on the 31st, you got Wally and Gallade, plus a Creator of All Things Stones chapter, and then end of February, post trainers and new photo feature, right? So I'm guessing this is this right here, new photo feature thingy that's going to be added to the game. But this one is weird, okay? This one is very, very strange to me, because it does make me feel like, why would we get a Let's Go character now? I'm gonna be real. I love Johto. I would prefer if it wasn't a Johto Let's Go game. I am not the biggest fan of Let's Go, mainly because of the catching feature. I think it is bizarre and not fun and tedious after a while. But I will say this though, I'm curious, okay? I'm very curious to see what this might mean for potentially Pokemon Day, because it's a weird time to add Chase into the game, unless there is a reason for it, or unless it was just coincidence that it's happening now. But I wonder, do you guys think that Chase being added could be potentially a way of them reminding us, like a way to remind fans that, like, hey guys, remember Chase? Remember Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee? You're about to get a second one, you know? Like, I wonder if that's what's happening here. Is that actually the case, or am I just waffling? Am I just imagining things? That's kind of where I'm at, right? That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. But yeah, it's pretty much that. That's my thought process. I don't really know what else to say. So I'm going to just leave that one where it's at. I want to, again, hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this one, because I'm going to be frank, I don't really know. It could be a hint. It could not be a hint. But that's that. Now, next is two really weird things, and then I'm going to finish off with a really, really cool post that was made. But I'm going to start out with the two weird things. So first of all is this post on 4chan where a guy was talking about, like, if Yokai Watch scared Game Freak into course correcting for Gen 7. So what he's referring to here is when Yokai Watch came out. And I know some of you guys might be like, Yokai Watch? What is that, bro? Yokai Watch? More like Yokai, not Pokemon Watch. Basically, this was a game that came out, and it's kind of like a Pokemon type style, or it's not really Pokemon. It's a monster collecting game, and I know some hardcore fans of this franchise. There's some people that really love Yokai Watch. Like, when I say really love, I mean they bloody love this shit. And they're pissed off that I think the third game hasn't been ported to English. But here's the thing. When it first came out, actually sold really well in Japan. And remember, Japanese companies usually look at the impact within Japan first before they look to the world, right? Like even with anime and stuff, like even Japanese anime that you can think of, they usually don't care about the outside world for the most part. They usually start with Japan first. If Japanese people like the product, that's when they start expanding, and they go into the rest of the world trying to push it. And that's the thing with Yokai Watch. Yokai Watch was really successful in Japan initially. I think somewhere along the line it must have fallen off, and I guess the sales in the outside world just didn't do well enough as to what led to, I guess, the third game not being ported. But basically, an interesting point here being made by this person is that they were kind of scared Game Freak into course correcting for Gen 7. Continuing on saying, then you can bet that Palworld will definitely greatly influence Gen 10's development. I don't think it's going to influence Generation 10 at all, because it's too early. Like, again, by the time Yokai Watch, was in the works, I don't think Gen 7, by the time Yokai Watch came out, I'm pretty sure that Gen 7 was already underway. But what he says here is, though, that's going to influence Generation 10. I disagree. I think what Palworld might do is influence Generation 11, right? Gen 11 is when it's going to influence it. It's selling way better than Yokai Watch ever did, and it's already similar enough to Legends Arceus as it is to point a Game Freak as it is to the point a Game Freak can just adapt things from Palworld without fans batting an eye. Fair point. But again, I would say this. Yokai Watch was competition, but on a smaller scale. And Yokai Watch proved that Pokemon could get competition in Japan, not for the rest of the world. But Palworld has proven that the rest of the world is willing to try something besides Pokemon, that being Palworld. So my point is this. I don't think that Palworld's going to change Generation 10, but I think it will have some lasting impact not that Palworld's going to take over, okay? I don't think Palworld, like, Pokemon's never going to die, okay? Realistically. It's a bit like one of those cases of it's too big to fail, okay? There's too many casual fans that do not care about Palworld. And a lot of people that did play Palworld aren't even people who would buy Pokemon to begin with, right? There's a lot of people that just wouldn't buy it to start with. I don't think it's going to have, like, necessarily a massive push away from Pokemon. Rather, it might impact some of the developers over at Game Freak and might give them some like reasoning and maybe some higher ups to be like, we've had actual competition. Let's switch things up a little bit, right? And I'm gonna be real. I know people are complaining about Pokemon, but I've liked that they've been trying stuff. Like, I'm gonna be real, okay? Legends Arceus is a freaking fantastic game to me as a Pokemon fan. But as a general video game, it's not the best, okay? It is a good game, but the same thing goes for pretty much every Pokemon game. There's something decent in there as a Pokemon fan. There's something good in there. But as a game to show to anyone else that isn't a Pokemon fan, it's a hard sell because there's always some issues. Now, Scarlet and Violet to me are actually fantastic games. I just wish that the actual movement system and catching system and you know, kind of like sneaking system and stuff, like the actual way you move around and do things in Legends Arceus, like its actual gameplay, I wish that was in Scarlet and Violet, because that would have made Scarlet and Violet perfect in my opinion. The graphics and stuff, that's a whole different things aside. I don't think necessarily Pokemon has to do insane things with graphics as long as the game looks decent. And there's a lot of games that you can compare it to, like, you know, Dragon Quest, like Dragon Quest 11 or something like that, where like the graphic style is very, you know, top notch. Like, I'm gonna be real, just take any like Dragon Ball game in the last while, which has like the anime style to it. That's what Pokemon needs. Just do a specific kind of style, stick to that style. You don't need to make it hyper realistic. I don't think you necessarily need to look like Palworld, but the thing with Pokemon is that something like Legends Arceus took a really cool concept, but just so small. It was like more like an idea, a tech demo of something they wanted to do, but the actual world was too empty. Like, going out into the world of Legends Arceus is where the problem happens, because the world is empty. Whereas if you take something like Palworld, the world is empty, but what enhances it is the the pals you can hang out with and stuff. So I feel like if Pokemon can just be smart about it and be like, okay, listen, let's steal some shit from Palworld. I mean, they yoinked our design, so we might as well yoink some stuff from them. If they're smart, they'll take some of those interactions you can have with your pals, the base building and stuff like that. Maybe not the whole, like, maybe not the whole thing about boiling your pals to, to the core, but, like, actually being able to use some of those concepts and shove it into a Legend-style game of Pokemon or into whatever the next thing is. So, like, what I'm trying to say is this. I don't expect any impact from Palworld to be seen in the next, like, 3 Pokemon games. The 4th one, that's when things will happen. I think whatever we see past Generation 10, because Gen 10 is already in the works, okay? You guys have to understand. Generation 10, the 10th generation of Pokemon, that's already in the works. That's already been in the works for a long time. That's not something that they just start working on, like, tomorrow. No, it's, like, already been worked on for several years. As Pokemon games tend to have multiple projects down the pipeline at all times. There's always, like, basically 3 games being worked on non-stop, consistently. So just keep that in mind. It's not like this is a new development or anything. But either way, I'm going to end that point right there. Move on to the next point, which is somebody asking for PokePark 3. To be fair, we haven't seen a PokePark game in a long time, so I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys want a PokePark game? Let me know. And that's that. Let's move on to the probably best post we're going to take a look at today. So this is by KarnEX. KarnEX, I think, is a Digimon YouTuber, so shout out to him. We got, the Digimon voice coming through. But he basically posted this saying, and I've seen a lot of people make this point as well. A trio transformed for new purpose by a Pokemon with a higher dex number also came back from the dead. Coincidence? I'm sure. So what he shows here is, of course, the legendary beasts on the right side here, which is, of course, Entei, Raikou, Suicune. And then on the left side, he has Okidogi, Monkidori, and Pheasantipity, right? So it's like the 3, not legendary. I guess they are legendaries, right? Are they legendaries? I guess they are. From, of course, Kitakami and the Teal Mask. Continues on and says, 2024 is the 25th anniversary of Gold and Silver. 2025 is the 15th anniversary of Black and White and 25th of Crystal. A traditional region of Japan that feels older and near Johto. Then a futuristic area in Unova. Then back to Kitakami again for a smaller adventure. I mean, it would be cool. This generation is perhaps the least subtle Game Freak has been with hints towards the next games. And here it says, what generation did berries, get introduced, I guess? Berries are a special category of Pokemon introduced originally in Generation 2. And of course, we had the official, the mythical Pekka Berry, which, remember, was introduced to get us started with, I guess, what would you put it like? It was what was introduced to get us started with the Pecharunt event, right? And he says, Game Freak using DLC for the current gen to drop intensely unsubtle hints to the next titles, of course, would be insane. The talk of madmen. And of course, here he shows the Urshifu that we had in the Isle of Armor, and how Urshifu had two different stances, like two different forms. There were two different battle stances. And then if you look, or battle styles, I guess, because then if you look at, of course, the next game that was announced after that DLC, it was a DLC which literally had these two things in it, an agile style and a strong style. Same way that we had two different styles with these two. So that was a direct hint to what was next. Then the Crown Tundra literally is a crown, okay? It's a literal crown that you wear. And it was in a icy area where there's crystals and ice, And then you look at what the next actual feature was of Gen 9, and it was literally crowns being worn. So what we're trying to say here is this: the fact that they're including these three, and he says here, and keep in mind, this is just a theory, okay? Remember that these three being resurrected by Ho-Oh is just a theory. It's not actually confirmed anywhere, I think. I don't think there's actual confirmation for that. I just want to point it out, just so you guys know. But what he's implying here is the same way that these three were more or less like taken under control and then resurrected in some sense, by, I guess they were maybe by Pecharunt. I don't know if they actually were resurrected by Pecharunt themselves, but basically it's kind of implied that they were brought back from the dead. Nonetheless, though, it is a bit weird because they have the same thing going on. It's a legendary, or a mythical, that's involved here, or a Pokemon with a higher dex number. So a Pokemon that's like above these three, right? And the same thing here. Ho-Oh is above these three as well, which is really interesting. Again, I don't know if it's an actual hint, but it is a bit odd. And then the thing he said here about the 2024. So this year is the 25th anniversary of Gold and Silver. Now, some of you, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying like, oh, 2025 is going to be Black and White. And the reason people say it's going to be Black and White because it's the 15th anniversary of Black and White. And everybody says, oh, Generation 10 is going to be in 2026 because they want to make sure it's in line with the 30th anniversary. See, originally I thought that wasn't going to be the case because they've always had the 3-year schedule for Pokemon games, and I don't expect that to change. I don't expect that to necessarily change. But with all the stuff with Palworld and things like that, I don't know if that maybe will just, like change their schedule. I don't know if that's going to impact it at all. Again, I don't know. But I do wonder, personally, why we think that just because it's the 50th anniversary of Black and White that we can't get 2 games in, of course, 2025. We could easily get a Black and White game and Generation 10. They already did that once. In 2022, what did we get? We got Legends Arceus at the beginning of the year in January, around like January 27th, 28th, whatever. We got Legends Arceus, and then the same year in November, we've got Scarlet and Violet. Like, we got both of those games in that same year. Like, people seem to forget that. So the possibility of us having 2025 as the anniversary of Black and White with, a new Black and White game totally makes sense. And then, the same year, we can have Generation 10. Also, the anniversaries, like, for example, I'm going to put it like this. If we don't get a Johto game this year, then the anniversaries mean nothing, okay? The anniversaries mean nothing. It's the 25th year anniversary. It's a big one, right? Big one for Gold and Silver. If we don't get a Gold and Silver related remake or anything to do with Gold and Silver and Johto this year, then clearly they do not care about anniversaries, and then that would basically that would discredit any thoughts people have about, oh, it's going to be, the 30th anniversary is going to be Generation 10. It would just discredit that whole idea. So we'll have to wait and see. He says, a traditional region in Japan that feels older and near Johto, then a futuristic area in Unova, then back to Kitakami again for a smaller adventure, which I guess is with him with the crystal thing. And I don't know if we're going to go back to Scarlet and Violet again, but hey, we'll see. And again, the mythical Pekka Berry. Again, it is very much a Johto thing, in my opinion. The whole thing with Kitakami, all of Kitakami feels more Johto-ish to me. And then, of course, the fact that the previous DLC, the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, did have literal hints to the next things. It's so obvious. But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. And also here, Roman says that apparently the shinies of the Loyal 3 are kind of Gold, Silver, and Crystal. So to prove that, let's see if it actually is true. Loyal 3 shinies. I want to just make sure we actually have... Let's see. Here we go. So This is the Loyal 3, and this is their shiny form. So we have, hey, yo, I'm gonna be real. I don't know, Chief. So this is, I guess this is the best way to look at them, right? So this is the shinies. You can't really see, I guess you can see the Pheasantipity right there. I don't know if I agree with that, or is this actually, is this the real shinies? I don't really know. I think this image is legit, okay? This image is actually legit. So this one is a little bit, okay, sure, orange. You could argue that's kind of gold-colored. Then I guess Monkey Dory is a bit brighter, like brighter to maybe look a little bit more silverish. And then Pheasantipity is the one where it's like the most, like I guess closest with the crystal one. Again, I don't know if that's that might be a bit far-fetched, but it could also mean something. Again, I don't really know. It's a bit far-fetched, but you never know. It could be the case. Nonetheless, though, that pretty much summarizes that, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I just want to hear what you guys think about this, what you think about everything else I've been talking about in this video. Let me know. And of course, guys, if you want to help the channel out, feel free to make sure to leave a like down below in this video. It would really help me out. If you don't want to, you don't need to. You don't need to do shit, okay? You don't need to do anything. And of course, if you want to subscribe, it would help me out. Again, you don't need to do anything. But if you want to stay tuned for more Pokemon news, then feel free to do so. Again, it's up to you. Doesn't really matter. Nonetheless, though, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.